Hello, and welcome to Tools for Managing Worry. I'm Dr. Jennifer Abel. I'm a psychologist who specializes in anxiety and worry. I'm an author and a professional speaker, and I'm here for the cancer support community to help you to manage your worry. By and large, managing your worry about cancer is very similar to how you would approach any worries. But at the end of the webinar, I'm going to talk more specifically about how to use these tools to manage your worry specifically with cancer. Okay, so first of all, how does worry affect you? Worry can have many effects on your physical and mental health, including things like having stomach aches are very, very common. Worry is actually very much associated with depression. When we fix worry, well, you're not going to fix worry, but when you decrease worry, you decrease depression. People who worry a lot have a difficult time concentrating. They may have tachycardia or heart racing, and they might find it difficult to breathe at times. Having a lot of worry can also wear you out, bring you lots of fatigue. It can cause you to avoid doing things because you're worried that it won't turn out well. And it may cause muscle tension. You may find that it's difficult to relax rather than that you just feel a whole lot of anxiety. And you might feel keyed up, nervous, or on edge. And another very common way that worry can affect us is that we can have a hard time sleeping, that we can have insomnia. Before we get started, I want to talk about why your previous efforts to manage your worry and anxiety may have failed. First of all, it turns out that when we fight anxiety, we actually fuel anxiety. We actually make it worse. And then many people wait until the anxiety spiral is too strong, and then your efforts to manage it, your coping strategies that may be very helpful before that spiral gets out of control, are no longer helpful. You may have tried positive thinking or other efforts at changing your thinking to help your mental health. And I'm going to talk about those pitfalls. And many people try to stuff their emotions and avoid feeling those emotions. And that is not helpful. And I'll talk more about that. So this is kind of an overview of why your efforts may have failed and what to do to help that. Okay, so I want to do a little demonstration here. I'm going to show you a picture here. It's a white bear. Don't think about that white bear. Whatever you do, don't think about it. You're probably still thinking about the white bear. Now, Daniel Wegner and his colleagues did this white bear research. And he showed a group of people a picture of a white bear, and he told them, don't think about the white bear. He showed another group of people the picture of the same white bear, and he told them it was okay to think about it. 10 minutes later, he asked people to write a stream of consciousness. What's coming to your mind? Those people who were told not to think about the white bear were significantly more likely to be thinking about the white bear than those who were told that it was okay to think about the white bear. When you did a follow-up study with worry, so if I asked Sue, what are you worried about? And Sue said, I'm worried about my scans next week. And I asked Rick, what are you worried about? And he said, I'm worried about my scans next week. And I said to Rick, don't worry about your scans. Not only would Rick be more likely to be worrying about his scans 10 minutes later, that difference is even greater than with that neutral white bear. And what's the most common advice that we get when we're worrying? Don't think about it. Put it out of your mind, right? And we may even tell ourselves that. Don't think about it. So that's an example of fighting the anxiety actually fuels it. And I apologize, my The animation on my slides didn't work correctly, but this video or this cartoon highlights that the man's in a body cast and his so-called friend says, "Man, Bernie, you're a mess. You ain't itching anywhere, are you? Boy, I had a cast on my leg years ago, and boy, did it itch. Drove me crazy." You know what I'm going to say? Because you can't scratch it, so don't think about itching anywhere or it'll drive you nuts. So if you think about itching, you're going to itch more. And then Stephen Hayes talked about this phenomenon more specifically with anxiety. He said, if you don't want it, you will. I suppose you're thinking that the opposite is true. And if you're willing to have it, you won't. So if you have anxiety, you're probably thinking, well, if I'm willing to have anxiety, I won't have anxiety. Well, then I'm really willing to have anxiety. But if the only reason you're willing to have anxiety is to not have anxiety, then you're not really willing to have anxiety, and it doesn't work. So that brings us to the fighting worry and anxiety fuels it. Another way to think of it is to try softer, not harder. It's not that I don't want you to make an effort. It's just that when you try hard to fight anxiety, you're going to fuel it. So we want to try softer, not harder, and invite it, don't fight it. So here's an example of that from Harry Potter.
Whoa. Lucky this clown thing's here, really. Whoa!
Stop moving, both of you. This is devil's snare. You have to relax. If you don't, it'll only kill you faster.
Kill us faster? Oh, now I can relax.
Just relax.
Hey, where are you?
Do what I say. Trust me. You're okay?
Yeah, I'm fine.
Not relaxing, is he?
So we think of the devil's snare as being like anxiety.
I remember reading
And
something
the
in
more
biology.
you fight it, the worse it gets.
Devil's snare. It's deadly fun. Oh, sulk in the sun, that's it! Devil's snare hates sunlight. Who must you then?
Ron, you okay?
Yeah.
Okay. Lucky we didn't panic.
So even more so than relaxing, it's letting go of the struggle. And here's another example. If you look at my fingers here, this is a Chinese finger trap. The harder I try to get out of this Chinese finger trap, the more it grips me. The more stuck I am, the more uncomfortable I am. When I accept that I'm stuck and I let go of that struggle, it's so much more comfortable. I am much less stuck, and it's easy to use my thumbs to get out of this. So presenting this metaphor to people with anxiety led to greater reductions in anxious avoidance, behavioral avoidance, anxious physical sensations, and anxious thoughts than teaching breathing retraining. So it's being comfortable with being uncomfortable. So what I'd like to do is a little demonstration. I would like for you to think about where in your body you typically feel anxiety and stress, excuse me, when you experience it. And closing your eyes, being in touch with those places, and noticing how you feel when I say these words. Calm down, calming, calm. calm, calming, calm down. You can open your eyes. Anyone ever tell you to relax and you want to flip them off? Or they tell you to chill out and you get more frustrated? Well, that's because commands create tension. So we want to use process words and states words like loose, relaxing, calming, soothing, peaceful, just to name a few. And you can experiment by going to a thesaurus and looking for different words and noticing how you feel when you say or think these words. Awareness cures trying fails. So sometimes when we try to think, we try to not think, we think more. But sometimes when we just allow ourselves to observe our thoughts, we feel a little bit better. So just observing your thoughts can be helpful. So I'd like for you to do that now. I'd like for you to actually purposefully start worrying, shifting to just observing your thoughts, no longer trying to think, but don't try to not think either. Instead, you're being a passive observer, looking at your thoughts like an outsider looking in, almost like you'd watch birds fly by or cars drive down the street. Just observing what's going on in your mind and practicing this for a few moments. Keeping your eyes closed, most of our thoughts are repeat thoughts, especially if we worry a lot. If you worry a lot, probably more than 80% of your thoughts, maybe even more than 90% of your thoughts are worries. But sometimes we get new thoughts. So in a moment, I am going to ask you to label each thought that you have as either being a new thought or a repeat thought. And if you're alone, label out loud. So beginning to worry on purpose, if your eyes aren't closed, closing your eyes, worrying on purpose, and now just observing your thoughts. And after each thought, labeling new or repeat starting now. And labeling each thought as helpful or not helpful. Wanted or unwanted. And you can open your eyes. Now, you don't have to confine yourself to these labels, but usually one of these is helpful, that after a while and that you keep labeling not helpful, not helpful, not helpful. You feel the futility of those repetitive thoughts in a way that you haven't felt before. So if just observing your thoughts was helpful, that's all you need to do. If it helped more to add the labels, absolutely do that. We can also observe and accept our emotions. And you can label those emotions as helpful or not helpful, wanted or unwanted. Your anxiety is almost always not helpful. So don't worry, be happy.
In every life we have some trouble. But when you worry, you make it double. Don't worry. Be happy.
Wouldn't it be nice if it was that easy? But don't worry, problem solve. So many of us are trying to, most of us, when we're worrying, we're trying to solve a problem, or we're trying to increase the likelihood that good things will happen and decrease the likelihood that bad things will happen. Well, it turns out that people who worry excessively are just as good at problem solving as people who don't worry excessively, but they don't problem solve well. And that's because the anxiety kind of handcuffs you. It limits your ability to think creatively. So next time you're worrying, recognizing that problem solving will be more helpful and that you'll be better doing that when you're relaxed. After all, think about it. When do you come up with solutions? When do you come up with your best ideas? Is it when you worry harder and longer? No, it's when you've let go of it, when you're driving or you're watching television or you're eating dinner and you're like, I could do this. So getting relaxed and thinking about your options, you're much more likely to come up with good ideas than if you worry harder and longer. Okay, we have another film clip. This is one of the most famous movie quotes of all time.
You go. Where shall I go? What shall I do?
Frankly, my dear, I don't give a damn.
I can't let it go. I can't. There must be some way to bring him back. I can't think about this now. I'm going crazy if I do. I'll think about it tomorrow.
And I love that she closes the door, because the idea of closing the door means I am going to leave my worries outside of that door until I want to problem solve. So we're terrible at not worrying, but it turns out that we're actually pretty good at postponing our worries. So if you have cancer, you've had scans. Now, everyone watching this video is in very different phases and places with their cancer. Some of you, sadly, are in stage 4 cancer. Some of you are in remission. Some of you've had stage 1 and have been able to treat with, I hate to say minimal, because any time that you have cancer, it's not minimal, but minimal compared to what some others. But almost all of you have had to worry about scans or have worried about your scans. So one of the things that I would recommend is that you make a decision to postpone that worry, for instance, of your scan, to maybe the day before you have the scan, or after you get the scan, in between when you hear your doctor, or maybe to the day that you have your appointment with your doctor. Because worrying about it isn't going to change the outcome of the scan. So you're worrying about it, you decide, for instance, I'm going to worry about it until the morning of my scan. And then at that time, use some of your coping strategies. I'm going to teach you some coping strategies. One that I've already taught you is accepting those thoughts, labeling those thoughts as useful and useless, using your process or states words like breathing or soothed or letting go, and use a coping strategy or two. Now, it may be that you worry all the time. If you worry all the time about something, whether it's cancer or something else, I would recommend that you take a period of time once a day or once a week or twice a week, experiment and take that time to sit down. So let's just say that you decide that after breakfast, every day you're going to do some problem solving, or you're going to do some give this some thought of what you can do. And any other time in between. So lunchtime, you're out with your friends, you're reading a book, you're working. I'll worry about that after breakfast. If you're working and you have a commute, one way on that commute can be a good thing. And then that way it's just the days that you're working. I'm going to postpone that to my commute. Doesn't mean that you won't worry about it in between, but this has been a very effective tool for many people to be able to wait to worry about it and then focus more on what can I do about it? Are there things that I can do about it? And you want to follow through at that time, or it's not going to be as likely to be helpful. So anxiety occurs in a spiral. This is one of the most important things for you to understand about worry and anxiety. So the worry spiral, we have a thought, and that might lead to an image or a behavior or a physical sensation or anxiety. And that may lead to another and another and another. But the anxiety spiral is composed of thoughts, images, physical sensations, and emotions and behaviors. So I'm going to give you an example of a woman who's worried that her husband is late getting home from work. And she just has that thought, boy, gosh, it seems like it's getting kind of late. I wonder what time it is. And she gets some tension in the back of her neck. And she she's chopping vegetables. She drops her knife and she turns around and she looks at the clock and she sees that, oh boy, it's getting late. And then the tension spreads to her shoulders. And without even thinking of it, she goes to the window to see if he's on his way down the road. The moment that he's not, she gets a pit in her stomach and has an image of him in a car wreck. And she begins to be fearful. And she starts to pace. And between the pacing and the fearfulness, her heart starts to pound. And then she thinks, he's done this to me so many times before. And he'll get mad if I call him. And she starts to get frustrated with him. And she starts to call him, and then she decides, no, I'm not going to call him. He'll get mad at me. And then she sees an image of him in the hospital, and he's unconscious and his head's bandaged. And then she starts to feel almost guilty that she was angry at him. And she starts to what What if I have to take care of him? What if I have to take care of him and the kids? What if he dies and I have to take care of the kids? What if we lose the house? And then she thinks, oh, I'm going to try that breathing strategy that my therapist taught me. And at that point, I contend it's going to do her more harm than good, because when the anxiety spiral is that high, it's less likely to work and more likely to cause frustration that her efforts aren't working, and that she'll start to feel hopeless that it's not working. And so if I were seeing that stay-at-home mom, I would suggest that she put a sticky note on her clock and use that as a reminder to catch that anxiety spiral early. So she has the thought, gee, it seems like it's getting kind of late. I wonder what time it is. She gets the physical sensation of tension in the back of her neck. She turns to look at the clock and she sees the sticky note on there. Or she may, if she looks at the clock on her phone, she may see that she changed the wallpaper on the phone. Oh, yeah, I changed the wallpaper on the phone to remind me to engage in my strategies. So she's going to nip that anxiety in the bud, catch it before it gets out of control, because an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. So this, how much easier, how much more effective are any of your coping strategies going to be with this, because we've caught it early, versus this, because we didn't catch it early. All right. So you want to create reminders, because if you wait and you just think, oh, I'm going to catch it early, I'm not going to wait. The instant that I feel some anxiety, I'm going to use my strategies. No, because by the time you notice those physical sensations, it may already be too late. So putting up sticky notes can be great. Put them in places that you see frequently. Put them in places that you associate with stress. And then change things on your devices. The device we use the most is the phone, of course. So if you change the wallpaper, the text tones, if you rely on vibration, add the text tones, or put your phone in a different pocket to remind you. Change the ringtones. And then anytime that you catch that, you will do your relaxation strategies. But very, very important, I would like for you to be able to use these strategies literally 30 to 50 times a day, many times an hour. You do not have time to stop. That would give you more anxiety. That would cause you more frustration to stop. So we want to use active relaxation. So like right now, you could be thinking your process or states word, like calm or softening or tranquil, peaceful. Okay. You could be doing a breathing strategy that you've learned, but still listening to me talk. We can all be noticing the surfaces beneath us, and we feel a little bit more relaxed, but I don't have to stop talking, and you don't have to stop listening. So we want to do active relaxation. So using any coping strategies that you've learned before today, using your process or states word, and then mindfulness. So let's do a little bit of focusing on the moment. When we focus on our senses, we are in the moment. All worry is about the future, all regret is about the past. So if we're in the present, we're free from worry and regret. And then we're going to be less anxious and less depressed. So, closing your eyes and noticing what you see, the back of your eyelids. Noticing the sound of your breathing. Noticing the feeling of your breathing. Being aware of the position of your arms and legs. Noticing where your hands, arms, and legs are touching one another. Gently shifting outside of your body by noticing your clothing, jewelry, glasses, and noticing the surfaces beneath and behind you, the chair, floor, armrest, table. Noticing the surfaces beneath you and behind you. And noticing sounds, my voice, maybe you can hear a heater or an air conditioner, other sounds inside your home, outside the building. And after your next exhalation, gently opening your eyes and noticing what you see, colors, shapes, textures, shadows, and highlights. And if you have a beverage, noticing if there's a smell to what you're drinking, and tasting, noticing the mouthfeel, temperature, feeling it in your hand. You can do this with when you're eating dinner. And those sticky notes or other kinds of reminders can help you to remember acceptance of that discomfort that you feel. Excuse me. And then muscle relaxation. So just simply right now, letting go of any tension that you don't need in your body. Using the least amount of tension in your body. And in a moment, I'm going to ask you, it turns out that we can get more relaxed if we tense our muscles before relaxing them. But I don't want you to strain or hurt yourself. So definitely ease into the tension, avoiding any pain. At the most, you should feel mild discomfort, maybe moderate discomfort. I want you to think about being an uncooked pasta noodle by making all of the muscles in your body hard. But before that, I want you to take a deep breath, breathing in, taking a deep breath now, and tightening all of your muscles, no pain, feeling like you're an uncooked hard pasta noodle. Feel it. Notice how your muscles feel when they're hard, and releasing and feeling like a cooked noodle. Soft, loose, malleable. Noticing the difference between feeling like the cooked noodle and the soft, malleable, cooked noodle. And when you have time, I like for people to do this twice. I'm going to use a little bit different imagery. So this time we're going to be Tin Man, not the Man of Steel, not Superman, because I don't want you to strain or stress your muscles. Again, never causing pain, taking a deep breath and being the Tin Man now, thinking of being the Tin Man or the Tin Woman, focusing on how your muscles feel, noticing the difference between this and when your muscles were soft, and releasing, breathing out into Scarecrow, feeling like a scarecrow, soft body, jointless, floppy limbs, noticing the difference, loosening, softening, softer, soft, softest. And after your next exhalation, opening your eyes. And you can just think of just being like that cooked noodle or being like the scarecrow or a rag doll. Also with muscle tension, you can put on those sticky notes question mark and ask yourself, do I need all of this tension? Or what's the least amount of tension I can use and read this book or read my Kindle? What's the least amount of tension I can use and cook dinner? If you suffer more from fatigue, that question mark means, do I need all of this energy? Or what's the least amount of energy I can use and walk to my car? And breathing. There are over 100 breathing exercises. And it is best if you breathe from your diaphragm. If you have a hard time doing that, try this. Put your hands over your head, and it'll automatically make you breathe from your diaphragm. If you're breathing from your diaphragm, your belly is rising. And you can continue to feel your belly moving as you breathe in and lower your hands and continue feeling that breathing from your belly. We can only get oxygen into the bottom part of our lungs, so that shallow breathing is not helpful. It can cause anxiety and discomfort in your body. But I'm going to do a little bit of mindful breathing. There's over 100 ways to breathe, and virtually all of them can cause performance anxiety because you have to do this or you have to do that. You have to count, you have to hold your nose, you have to hold one nostril closed and breathe in through the nose, out through the mouth, and all kinds of variations. So in this exercise, if there's a breathing strategy you love doing, please keep doing it. If it's helping you, keep doing it. This is just an alternative. All right. Closing your eyes and following your breathing. Letting go of anything that you've heard about how to breathe, and instead just observing your breathing. Feeling the air coming in and out of your nose and mouth. Or maybe just in and out of your nose. Noticing if the air you're breathing in is cooler than the air you're breathing out. Noticing the sound of your breathing. Noticing the sound as you're breathing in and as you're breathing out. Observing the pauses as you breathe. There's a brief pause after you breathe in and a longer pause after you breathe out. Particularly enjoying that longer pause after you breathe out and before you breathe in. Visualizing yourself breathing in fresh, clear, oxygenated air and breathing out a warm color like yellow, orange, or red. Gently shifting to breathing in a cool color like blue or aqua. Or if there's another color you find more relaxing, breathing in that color. Continuing to enjoy the quiet pause after you breathe out. You can also think very simple words with your breaths, like peace as you breathe in, calm as you breathe out. If you chose a process word like relaxing, re as you breathe in, lax as you breathe out, ing during the quiet pause, or maybe a short phrase that brings you peace or brings you comfort, like God is peace. Namaste. Shalom. Sha as you breathe in, lom as you breathe out, enjoying the quiet pause. We can also use this to change our thoughts. If your eyes are still closed, taking one more breath, and after your exhalation, opening your eyes. And when you see, hear, or experience any reminders that you may have created for yourself on your phone, with sticky notes, you can use a colorful hairband or tie. When you see or hear these reminders, you can also change your thoughts. So, does positive thinking work? Does it work for you? Some people say positive thinking does not work. Some people say it does work. Guess what? You're both right. Positive thinking only works if you believe it. If you think the most positive thought, but you don't believe it, it's not going to be helpful. So what's the solution? The solution is something very simple. Think of a better thought than your negative thought, but a believable thought. So for instance, if your child, grandchild, niece, nephew, any child you care about says, I want to go ride my bikes, I'm going to go ride my bikes with my friends, and you're worried that they're going to get hurt on their bike, and you think, oh, I'm sure they'll be fine. That's not going to work. It's not likely to work because you're not sure they'll be fine. Kids get hurt on the bikes every day. So just take a moment and think, what are some better but believable thoughts that you could think? They're not playing video games. Instead, they're getting exercise. This is good. I've been concerned they're not socializing enough with their friends. And now he or she is, or they are. I am concerned that they're not getting enough exercise. They're getting some exercise now. They're getting gross motor skills. They're improving independence. They're improving their social skills. And they're getting out of my hair so that I can get some things done. They're wearing their helmet. They're riding in a safe area. They're amongst friends. There's safety in numbers. They have a phone. They can reach me if they need me. So, and I'm sure there are other better but believable thoughts. Okay, many of us were taught by our parents to hold our emotions in, to be tough, to be strong, and to not complain. Things are fortunately changing, but many of us in an older generation were told that women shouldn't get angry and men shouldn't cry. Well, it turns out that we want to express our emotions, because if we suppress them, it leads to poor outcomes. It's been proven that when people who had depression were getting therapy for depression, those who did more emotional experiencing during the therapy were significantly less depressed at the end of the study than those who did less emotional experiencing. And a study with generalized anxiety disorder, the worry disorder, was found that those who suppressed emotional processing were significantly more anxious than those who allowed themselves to feel more freely. And that leads me to something called emotion or emotional regulation. Again, because everybody's cancer experience is so different, I'm going to talk about something unrelated to cancer. Imagine that you have a dog and your dog is in an electric fence in your front yard. You live in a quiet cul-de-sac, speed limit at 20 miles an hour. One day, some guy comes flying through the neighborhood, loses control of his car, and kills your dog. Quickly, what two emotions are you going to feel? You may have used different words, but everyone thought sad and mad. Why? Because these are healthy emotions. When you have those healthy emotions, you want to express them. So with cancer, it is healthy for you to feel fearful. It is healthy for you to feel sad. It's healthy for you to feel angry. All right. When you have those, you process them, it is helpful. When you suppress them, it's unhealthy, as we talked about in the previous slide. When we accept those emotions, we have a healthy release of those emotions, and it's actually helps our immune system as well. This is fact. Pennebaker found this. But actually, emotional regulation is from DBT. Oh, shoot, I can't think of the therapist who does the DBT. I'm sorry. But what often happens is that when people don't accept those healthy emotions, they have what we call secondary emotions. And those secondary emotions can become what the focus is on, instead of allowing these healthy emotions that will allow us to process that event. We'll get stuck here. And usually those are thoughts like, I shouldn't feel this way. I should be stronger. I'm so embarrassed that I cried. I'm so embarrassed that I yelled at that guy. I'm feeling anxious that I feel angry, etc., etc. So, what do we do with those cancer worries? Let yourself emote. Visit it, don't live in it. So when you feel this sadness and you're in a place that it's safe to feel it, or you feel the anger and you're in a place that it's safe to express it, do it until you feel a significant sense of release, a significant sense of relief, and then move on. It actually helps you to be able to let it go. If you visit it, it will help you to not live in it. If you don't let yourself visit, it's stirring beneath the surface all the time. Worry. You can worry about your future. You can worry about your cancer for 18 hours a day, and it is not going to help you. So use these strategies. Recognize that those worries are useless. And even though B3s may be of limited use, still look at the upside. Look, you learn who your true friends are. You learn, some people say they learn to not sweat the small stuff. Some people learn to take advantage of things and do things that they hadn't been previously doing. One woman in one of my worry groups with cancer support community said that people see that I've lost my hair and they talk to me and they say that they're praying for me, or they say that they're supporting me, or they wish me well. Self-care is extremely important. Many of you out there, you have made it a habit of taking care of other people and put yourself last. And I really encourage you to put yourself first, at least some of the time. Take care of yourself and be willing to ask for help. That's another thing that people recognize that can be an upside, that, I've never asked for help. I've never gotten help. And it's kind of nice to be able to ask for help and get help. And then use some of the other favorite things that you've learned from this webinar today. I also have some videos on YouTube and a few on TikTok, Anxiety Guru. And if it doesn't come up under Anxiety Guru, add my last name, Abel, A-B-E-L, or even my first name, and I believe it'll help. All right, so you want to have some self-compassion. So I want you to think about when you feel compassion for other people. In fact, think about closing your eyes and thinking about someone that you've felt compassion for recently, that you really care about. And I want you to feel that in your body. And I'd like for you to breathe in self-compassion and think about the difficulties you're having with your diagnosis, with the stage that you're in at the moment, the things that you're going through. And as you breathe out, relaxing. So breathing in that feeling of self-compassion At the top of your breath, acknowledging your difficulties. And as you breathe out, allowing your body to relax. Maybe thinking peace, maybe thinking calm, maybe imagining being that noodle or rag doll or scarecrow. Breathing in self-compassion, breathing that feeling of compassion in for yourself that you've felt for so many other people in the past, breathing it in for you, and at the top of your breath, acknowledging your difficulties and relaxing as you breathe out. And after your next exhalation, opening your eyes. And I really wish you the best with your journey. And I sincerely hope that this webinar has helped you today. Take care. Peace, love, and health. Take care.